Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be talking through sharpening one of these things, a card or a cabinet scraper. This video will show you how I get these sharp and how I get consistent results about 80% of the time, should we say. Let's get going. So, what is a card scraper? Well, all it is, bit of metal with a burr folded over the end, and it is a very, very effective way of reducing tear out. If you haven't seen my previous video on reducing tear out by using hand planes, I would advise watching that if you're working on furniture with highly figured components. But if you're doing little bits like marquetry or you just have a tiny patch of tear out, that's where these excel because they work very well in localized patches. You can't flatten an edge with these, but in small areas, brilliant. So, let's get you in close and have a look at how to sharpen one of these. Right, so the first thing we want to do with the cabinet scraper is flatten these faces and then square off the edge so that we get a perfect sharp 90-degree corner on as many of these sides as we can actually, because that way when one burr gets sharp we can just flip it round and use a burr on the other side, likewise on that side as well. So you can essentially have 8 burrs all over this cabinet scraper, and that way you're not back and forth between the sharpening station all the time. So what we're going to do, like I say, is flatten the faces first. So bit of juice on there. Right, and instead of just putting it on like that and then flattening it by hand, obviously this card scraper is very, very bendy. So if you put your fingers in certain patches, it's going to wear one place more than the other. And on a very small microscopic level, I see that as potentially creating a wavy burr where the thickness of this is going to vary. So instead of just putting hand pressure on it, I get myself a wooden block and just work it back and forth like that. That gives you nice even pressure. So I'm going to do this side now. And then the opposite faces. And here now. Just going to flip this round. There we go. So we can now see that this has started getting polished beneath all of this gunk that's on here. And we can actually use this same block to use it to square the edge. However, if you're using water stones, I would advise you not to do it like this because you'll just start wearing a big groove through the middle. Instead, pop the stone on its side like that. Obviously this is abrasive on all of its sides. Pop the block on that. There you go. Work it back and forth like that. So now that is starting to polish that edge to a 90 degrees. I'm using the block to guide me instead of doing it freehand. Now I can see there's a little patch on there that I haven't quite reached, so it's like a dip in there. Just going to keep going on that. I'm just going to shift the block occasionally to make sure I don't wear a big groove. So obviously as that creates a groove in there, it's going to start rounding the corners of the 90 degrees. So just make sure that I am moving that about. There we go. So that I can feel a 90-degree edge on that and it's pretty sharp. Just going to flip it over to this side and I'm going to do the opposite side of the cabinet scraper. Lovely. You can actually use a cabinet scraper like that with a 90-degree edge. It gives you a very fine cut instead of an aggressive one. So if you've only got a very, very small amount of something to clean up, then just go ahead with that. You don't need to go any further. I'm going to take this a step further. I'm going to polish this on the 6000 grit now, just because I have it available. So as always, just going to wipe all the grit off here. Here we go. So I'm just going to use the opposite side of this block as well. Back and forth like that. I really need a new non-slip pad for this. Good God. There we go. That feels super smooth now. And I'm just going to do the edge on the 6000 grit as well. I can see that that edge is actually getting a little bit of wear on it, so I can actually just do that as well. Now the amount of times I've done this and sliced my thumb on this top edge here when you give yourself those sharp 90 degrees, just watch out for that. Don't put too much pressure down because it's, there you go. Like that, you start putting fish gills. Oh God, that actually really hurt. Put fish gills in your finger, so avoid doing that if possible. Right, so there we go. Feel those are nice and sharp, nice and polished. It works the same as if you're doing blades and chisels. The higher polish you get that edge, the sharper it's going to be. So now that's 90, I just caught my knuckle on it as well, bloody hell. So now that is 90 degrees. we are done on the sharpening stones. So these can, and what we're working with now is a burnisher. Now this is quite possibly the ugliest one you will ever find, but for me, it's the best one. All these lie-nielsen ones, notice how I said that properly. Some of you pointed out that I've been saying it wrong for all this time. Lie-nielsen it is, not lie-nielsen. I work in a tool shop, everyone says it differently. It confuses me. Now I know how to say it. So lie-nielsen do a really nice shiny burnisher, and it's got a round rod on it. You can also get them from Kirschen and Veritas, but I don't find the round rod works for me. This Arno one has a round rod on it and a pointed one, and this is available from Workshop Heaven. Really recommend it if you're looking to sharpen a cabinet scraper. So let's move to the front of the bench and I'll show you how to sharpen it. Right, so the first thing we want to do on this is draw a hook out of the edge on all 4 faces. So on a microscopic level, the sides will have like a sort of horn shape to them, like that. So what I'm going to do, because I like to go for an aggressive burr, I'm going to get the sharp point on here and then just draw it back on here with firm pressure. There we go. So I'll just do that all once and I can feel that started putting something on there. Do it on this side as well. So it's pretty firm pressure you do this, like sort of cutting an apple with a blunt knife, should we say. That was a good one there. That's what I mean, it's so variable, sometimes it's good. And I'm sort of holding this burnisher so it's a few degrees off being parallel with the top of the cabinet scraper. I find that just sort of works for me to give enough pressure on that edge without completely rounding it over. So now we've got the horn shape on all of the edges of these, we can now start working on folding them over. So we'll move to the vise for that. So here we go, clamp this in the vise, relatively low. You don't want to have too much flex in the top of that. If you clamp it too high, it's just going to bend all over the place and make your angles quite difficult. So this burnisher, you can see that the tips here are not parallel to the blade. At that angle is what I sharpen these cabinet scrapers to. So if I hold the handle parallel to the ground, I know that I'm going to get a nice reliable edge on there. So we've got the horn shape on here. All I'm going to do is get the round end of this and hold it so it is perpendicular to the end. So I'm putting 90-degree pressure on it and I'm folding those horns out like that. So again, firm pressure. I'm going to get that a bit lower because we're getting flex on that still. There we go. Right, so 90 degrees, firm pressure all the way along. You can actually see that burr being formed. There you go, I've got a bit of one there. There's pretty good, it's better on this other side. So because this side's feeling pretty good, I'm going to carry on using the round side. So now I'm going to angle it somewhere between being parallel to the ground with the handle and parallel to the ground with the edge on this. So a few degrees off and fold that over again. There we go, getting very good now. And now I'm going to hold it with that parallel to the ground. Firm pressure. Woohoo! That feels good. Right, this one, where the burr didn't quite get started, I'm going to use this pointy one for that. So again, a few degrees off, drag it back. Nice. Now flip it around and hold it so the handle is parallel to the ground. Lovely. So that's got a hook on it. We're going to do the other side now. So on this one, I'm going to try and put a really heavy burr on it. So we're going to do 90-degree pressure straight away with the pointed end on this. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, that's going to be quite aggressive. That might be a bit too much, but we'll give it a go. Folding that over. Lovely, and a bit more. Lovely, and do the other side now. Oh, that is a biggie there. Flip it around just to do this final edge. So the handle is parallel to the ground. Lovely, lovely. So the burr is very difficult to see on this, but to demonstrate it is there. Look, I can catch my fingernail on the edge like that. In fact, oh, there you go, I'm just scraping bits of my fingernail off. But yeah, that is sharp. You can feel the burr on there. It's been polished to a nice edge. So let's see how it performs. Remember this stuff? It's just going to lob it in the bin, the bloody horrible thing. Okay, another reason to watch my tear out video. This stuff is just disgusting. So here we go. Yes, no tear out. There you go, you can see And that is giving lovely shavings. We'll just try it on the other side quickly, see what we got here. Oh, beautiful. Try it on the other side. Have I got all four? Oh my God, I might have done it. I might have done it. You ready? Yes, there we go. So pink ivory. Can't do it with a plane, but I can do it with a cabinet scraper. God, thank God, at least that brought some sort of resolution to the tear out series. I was worried I was never going to be able to do it. Could have been an absolute catastrophe. Let's do this corner that I was struggling with before. Beautiful. So you can see all these cabinet scrapers are really, really effective at removing tear out. However, they are not good at flattening edges. So if this was an entire chair leg, if you were to make one out of pink ivory, fair play to you, but you wanted to maybe plane a taper on it, you obviously wouldn't be able to do it with this because this is removing very small amounts of material. You would need to find a way to do it on a plane. So that'd be a reason to watch my tear out video. If you're looking at doing stuff like that, God help you, but that is working beautifully. Probably sounds really nice on the microphone as well, but yeah, there we go. That is how you sharpen a cabinet scraper. Like I say, that burnisher, I cannot recommend it enough, despite being the ugly duckling in my toolbox. It is absolutely great for getting you out of those sticky situations where you're not quite getting enough of a burr folding over. Just switch it to that pointy face and my good mama, that is going to put a sharp edge on. I'm not even entirely sure why I said my big cameras do some things to me. But yeah, that pointy edge on there gets me out of a lot of sticky situations. And I'm just really happy that we've been able to clear out this pink ivory of all of its tear out. It's a great representation of what a bench plane can't do. A cabinet scraper will get you out of. So yeah, cabinet scrapers, great tools. Just make sure that you get that edge perfectly square on the stone using the techniques I've shown you. Make sure you use a block for when you're flattening the faces and likewise for flattening the sharp edge on it, because that 90 degrees is what turns into your sharp edge at the end of it. So there we go. Hopefully you have learned something. Best of luck.